The night was black as coal when the sound first reached him. Not a coyote's howl, not the creak of the barn. It was softer, weaker. A voice, breaking on the wind like it didn't even belong out there. Jonas lifted his head from the porch rail, the stub of his cigarette burning low between his fingers. The dogs didn't bark. They just whined, low in their throats, like they already knew what kind of trouble was coming down the road. He stood slow, boots scuffing on the dry boards, and reached for the lantern. The wind cut sharp across the dirt, carrying dust and whispers with it. That's when he heard it again. Faint. Barely human. A woman's voice, cracked and desperate. Please, end it now. Jonas froze. His hand hovered above the old Winchester leaning against the doorframe. The voice didn't sound like a threat. It sounded like someone begging to leave this world. He moved down the steps, lantern held out, its weak light spilling across the yard. That's when he saw her. She was crawling, barefoot, skin scraped raw, her dress nothing more than torn fabric clinging to her bones. Her hair hung loose and matted, and her face was pale like death had already claimed half of her. She looked up when the lantern caught her eyes. They weren't the eyes of someone living free. They were heavy, hollow, dragging chains of pain behind them. Jonas set the lantern down and crouched. "Ma'am." His voice was steady, though his chest felt like it was tightening around something sharp. Her lips trembled. "Please, just end it." Jonas shook his head, more to himself than her. He reached for her arm, but she pulled back quick, like a wild thing cornered. "No," she whispered. "Don't touch me. Not unless it's to finish it." He didn't answer. He just shrugged out of his coat and draped it over her shoulders. She flinched at the weight of it, but she didn't push it away. He could see the bruises now, scattered down her neck and arms, old ones and fresh ones layered on top of each other. Somebody had carved pain into her skin for a long time, and she'd finally broken loose. Jonas stood and offered his hand. "Ain't my style to put folks in the ground if they're still breathing. You can stand." For a long moment she didn't move, then she slid her hand into his, weak but steady. He pulled her up, careful, like she was glass that might crack if he gripped too hard. She stumbled against him, and he steadied her. He didn't ask her name. Not yet. He knew some names carried weight you couldn't put down. Inside the house, the fire was low but warm. He poured water, set bread on the table. She sat, hands shaking, eyes fixed on the floorboards. When he pushed the cup toward her, she spoke for the first time without begging. "You don't know what you're doing. If they find me here, you'll be dead before sunrise." Jonas leaned against the wall, arms crossed, studying her like he'd study a storm cloud rolling in. "Darlin', I been dead before. Came back meaner. Eat your bread." She did. Slow, tearing small pieces, chewing like it hurt. After a while, her shoulders dropped a little. The firelight caught her face, and he saw she was younger than he thought. Barely past 20, maybe. But her eyes looked older than his. Jonas finally asked, "Who put those marks on you?" Her throat worked before she spoke. "My husband." He didn't react. Didn't curse, didn't spit, didn't slam his fist. Just let the words hang heavy in the room. She looked at him then, tears making her eyes shine like broken glass. "You don't understand. He won't stop. He'll hunt me down. And when he does, you can't save me. That's why I asked. Better you end it now than let him drag me back." Jonas stared at her a long while. Then he pushed the shotgun closer to the door. "You're safe tonight. Tomorrow ain't promised, but tonight, you're safe." She closed her eyes, and for the first time since she'd crawled into his yard, her breathing slowed. Jonas didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, rifle across his lap, eyes on the dark horizon. He knew men like the one she spoke of. Men who thought women were property, who wore fine boots and carried deeds in their pockets but had nothing but rot in their souls. He'd seen them in the war, in the saloons, hell, even wearing badges. They always came with money, muscle, and the law on their side. And they always came back. Dawn was just spilling gold across the dirt when Jonas heard the dogs growl. Not bark. Growl. The kind of sound that meant someone was close. He stepped onto the porch, hand resting on the Winchester. Dust rose down the trail. A rider. Big man, moving fast, the kind of fast that didn't leave room for good intentions. The girl appeared in the doorway behind him, his coat still wrapped around her. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. Jonas could feel her fear like smoke in the air. The rider pulled up, dirt swirling around him. He had broad shoulders, a scar down his jaw, and a revolver low on his hip. His eyes swept the porch, the girl behind Jonas, then locked on Jonas himself. "Morning," the man said, voice rough, like gravel dragged across stone. "Morning," Jonas answered, calm as still water. "You see a girl pass through here? Blonde, torn dress, maybe bleeding some. She belongs to Mr. Hardin." Jonas tilted his head, squinting like the sun was in his eyes. "A girl? Out here? Don't reckon I've seen anyone worth mentioning." The man's lip curled. "She's his wife. Paper signed. She ran off last night. My job's to bring her back. Ain't no use lying." Jonas spat in the dirt. "You see a woman half dead, you don't bring her back. You bring her mercy. And mercy sure as hell don't live in Hardin's house." The man leaned forward in the saddle, voice low. "You standing between Hardin and what's his?" Jonas didn't blink. "I'm standing between a devil and the only soul he ain't burned yet." For a moment the air froze. Then the man gave a slow grin. "You'll regret that." He tugged the reins and turned, dust trailing him down the road. He didn't fire, not yet. That meant he'd be back. And not alone. Jonas watched him go, then glanced at the girl. She was shaking, but her chin lifted, stubborn. "I told you," she whispered. "You should have ended it when I asked." Jonas shook his head. "Ain't no mercy in dying. Mercy's in making bastards like him pay for every damn bruise he ever gave you." The day dragged heavy. Jonas worked the corral, fixed the fence, but his eyes never left the horizon. The girl stayed close to the house, sometimes stepping out, sometimes hiding inside. By afternoon, she walked up beside him, slow but steady. "Let me help," she said. Jonas handed her a hammer. "You know how." She shook her head. "Then you'll learn." She swung, weak at first, then harder, until the nail sank. For the first time, her mouth twitched like it might remember how to smile. Jonas didn't point it out. He just handed her another nail. By sundown, they sat on the porch, quiet. She watched the horizon, voice low. "He'll come. You know he will." Jonas lit another cigarette. "I know. And he was right." The riders came when the sun was bleeding red across the dirt. 3 of them, kicking up dust like thunder. Hardin rode in the center, dressed sharp, face smug, like the world was his to own. His men flanked him, heavy and armed. Jonas didn't move. He leaned back, one hand on the Winchester, eyes steady. Hardin dismounted slow, gloves snapping off like he was in church. "Jonas McCready. Heard you've been hiding my wife." Jonas didn't blink. "Heard you've been beating a woman half your size and calling it marriage." Hardin's face hardened. "That girl's mine. Paper signed. You're breaking the law." Jonas stood, stepping off the porch. "Law don't mean a damn thing when it protects cowards." The goons moved first. They always do. One charged, quick but clumsy. Jonas swung the rifle, cracked it across the man's skull. He dropped like a sack of feed. The other drew iron, but Jonas was faster. One shot. Dust and silence. Hardin froze, his fine clothes looking foolish in the dirt. Jonas stepped close, so close their breaths touched. "If I see you here again, I'll bury you under the mesquite tree. And I'll carve your name shallow, so the wind scrapes it clean." Hardin backed up, pale, rattled. He mounted, spurred hard, and disappeared with the last of his pride. The girl stood in the doorway, eyes wide, tears cutting clean lines through the dust on her cheeks. She stepped forward, voice breaking. "Why? Why help me?" Jonas looked out over the horizon. Because the world throws folks away too easy. I ain't built for throwing. Weeks passed. Hardin never came back. The girl, her name was Clara, though she didn't speak it for a long time, began to walk straighter. She learned the chores, fixed gates, fed chickens. She even laughed once, soft and unsure, like it surprised her. But one morning Jonas found her sitting on the cot, hands pressed to her stomach, face pale. She didn't need to say it. He knew. "It's his," she whispered. Jonas sat beside her, staring at the dust motes in the light. Finally, he said, "Then it'll be yours too. Don't carry his sin. Only yours. Only what you give it." Her tears fell fast then, but not from fear. From something else. Something like release. Jonas let her lean into him, his arms strong around her like the first safe place she'd known. Months rolled on. The whispers in town never stopped. Folks said Jonas had taken in Hardin's wife, was raising Hardin's child. They shook their heads. They judged. But Jonas didn't care. He walked beside Clara to church. He bought baby blankets. He built a cradle from oak, his hands rough but steady. Because sometimes being a man ain't about the fights you win. It's about what you choose to keep. So let me ask you, straight. If it were you, could you hold on to someone the world called broken? Could you raise a child born from pain, and still call it love? Or would you turn away, the way most men do? If this story struck something in you, don't let it go quiet. Hit that like button, tap subscribe, share this with someone who needs reminding. Because strength ain't in walking away. Strength's in standing still when someone begs you to end it, and choosing instead to carry them back to life.